Welcome everybody to Prepper Talk Radio. We're at I think this episode is 236. That's almost we're headed towards 100 episodes since the reboot. So we're super excited to have you guys with us. This episode it's the first of the year, 1st of January or 2023 in January. Super excited to be with you. We got Scott and Shane and myself, Paris Clough, in the house. So we're going to share with you some of the highlights of 2022 in terms of the news and what in the world just happened to us in 2022. And
highlights, were there any highlights, or are they just all low lights?
I think highlights and lowlights is the wrong word. I think it's smoke screens. I think it's fans getting hit with while oscillating with feces.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in the parking lot. I had to go pick up some food for my daughter's lizard. We got her a lizard for Christmas, and
oh, nice!
It likes only the livest, wriggliest victims to eat.
Bearded dragon, there, Scott?
No, it's actually just a green anole. So it's a little skinny, fast, super fast. Can't hold it because it runs away. Little lizard, but I'm sitting there, and I was like, my brain kind of just is half doped out on NyQuil and Dayquil, and the other half trying to think of like, wow, we've got all this stuff to cover tonight, and all I could think of is how this year has been. The cartoon in my head is this little guy standing there with like brown matter blown against his face, and there's a fan on the other side of the room, and there's a guy kind of over by the fan, and the kid that just got splattered is like, oh, it's happening. And the other guy goes, wait, no, there's more. And then the next one, he's throwing more poop at it from the other side, and it's just hitting the other guy, and he's clean. And he's like, why are you doing this? Someone has to do it. Well, then let's fight. No. It's not all done. You have to wait till it's finished. And that's kind of how 2022 has felt. Like, there's so much going on. The world as we knew it, right? That's been gone for a couple of years. There's a new normal every day. There's a new, is this really happening? And I see so many people are like, I'm ready. I'm done. Time to fight. Let's go. And so many other people are like, no, wait. It's like those stupid commercials on TV. There's more. We're going to throw in 1 more pound of poo. We're going to
Mr. Popeil.
There's more. This one's got nuts in it. Well, wait, there's more. And I'm just like, I'm too tired right now. I can't even fathom what else. Right. So looking back at 2022, I'm like, hot dang.
Yeah. If we're not looking back, it just all tends to blur together, and then you don't really, for me, I don't see the impact maybe that everything has had, but, I attempted to look back and write down a bunch of the events of this year. And it seems like some of these things happened years ago, and it just all blurs together. And it's like, like you said, Scott, just the new normal, but obviously not normal. And so I think looking back helps us to keep it from looking normal, right? Because it's anything but normal. And if we accept it as normal, then looking forward, which is going to be our next episode, it's I think a lot easier to see forward of what we may experience by looking backwards. And of course, I say that all the time.
Well, it's important, I think, to be able to, if you're, for example, the example of the frog in the boiling pot of water, if you just throw a frog in it, he's going to obviously jump out because it's too hot. But if you slowly, incrementally increase the temperature, you're going to be able to cook him in no time. And that's what the elite, the world leaders, the secret combination, the globalists, the New World Orderists, whatever you want to call them, the World Economic Forumists, they're slowly turning up the heat, hoping that we'll forget that we were just at 190 degrees and now we're at 195, or now we're at 200, because water boils at 212 degrees. So I feel like we're right around the 200 mark, if not just over. And so if we don't look back and say, wait a minute, we were at 190 before, what are we doing at 200? And it looks like it's going forward. We better stop this thing before we get going too far down the road here. And I think hopefully we got enough people waking up to the fact that it's hot that we were going to have an opportunity to make some changes, or at least delay some things. But at the same time, God has a timeline, and God's not going to stop.
So the question is, yes, what you talked about the pot. When do we jump out of this pot, right? Especially you look back and say, oh man, we're really a lot hotter than we thought, and it's time to jump out of the time to get out of the pot. And maybe we take a minute to try and discuss that, or what that looks like, and how we actually, maybe for getting out of the pot is bugging out, which it's got to be pretty darn hot to bug out. I mean, that's got to be at the boiling point to bug out.
I think we should talk about a couple of the things that have got it to the hot, and then we'll talk, maybe add to that. And I'll start off maybe, but the whole market this last year, we had in the first part of the year, they kind of rallied us into this thought and feeling that everything was going to be okay. Everything's great. Housing prices were still going up. The stock market was still going up. Crypto was still going up. Maybe there was a little bit towards the end of 21 that was, in regards to crypto. But I remember very distinctly everybody saying, no, dude, crypto's like, I think Bitcoin was at 60, somebody somewhere in there. And they're like, no, it's going to be at 300. It's going to be 250. Buy in now. Get in there now. And then somewhere in the neighborhood of June, like, I don't know if it was June, but it was somewhere around the half point of this year, things just started going south. Really, like it's kind of leveled off, and then things started going south. And I don't know how much
the brakes have been pulled yet. Like, I think it's just fallen. Like, and really, it's been towards the last half of the year that we've seen. What was it, FTX or whatever, gone. Yeah, everything's fallen apart in that sector.
Yeah,
and the claim was for the last 5 years, you don't understand. This is the strongest stuff. This is where your money needs to be. If you're not here, you're stupid. And now everyone that's there is going, oh crap, what did we do?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this whole year they've been they, as in the media, this administration, they say, oh no, we're not in a recession. No, everything's fine. We'll let you know. And the markets keep moving down and down and down and down, but they go up again, they go down, and everything I've heard is everything's fine. Yet, let me read you some numbers here. The Dow, which is I think what most people watch, down 18%, 18.1% this year.
Wow.
The S&P down. The Dow was down 9% this year. The S&P was down 18.1%. The bond market was down 16%. The Russell 2000 was down 21%. The NASDAQ was down 33%. So the average 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, whatever that is down 16.9%. Wow. So in general, most people who have a 401k or a pension or whatever, it's down almost 17%.
Yeah.
And the higher risk, like ETFs, say for example the ARK ARK Innovation, and then the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, they're down 67 and 76% this year.
Yeah, ARK.
But no, like you say, Scott, just keep your money. No, this is where you need to be. No, everything's looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just my own portfolio. When I look at it, it says market. Let's see what it's down 33%. Thank you so much. ARK Investors with Kathy Woods, and she was screaming for the 2020, 2021, and then 2022 just started. All of her investments started to tank as she had these investors. I mean, we've had one of the other things too. I mean, that's related to the economy is that the whole gas prices and the inflation that was through the roof. I don't know if anybody has been to the grocery store lately, but I just saw a thing about how eggs are $7 to $10 a dozen or something ridiculous, or for 18. I mean, when you have
where you are,
and
when you have Oreo cookies for $6 and eggs for $10, something's going weird.
Well, and food, as we've talked about this before, food's getting less food than ever before,
and lower quality,
more synthetics,
a smaller selection. They're pinning us down to certain things. Like I try and buy organic eggs, right? And there's multiple different selections, like grass-fed, free range, all these different kinds, vegetarian, and I usually don't buy the most expensive organic eggs. But I will buy some of the lower, less expensive ones. Now all that's available is the most expensive, like $7 for a dozen. And so we'll see how that changes. If that changes, but yeah, selection has gone down, and quality in particular. I've been watching some other things that they're showing parasites in some of our pre-prepared foods, which they just keep adding, and that's not the topic for today, but just like you say, the markets, it's going down, but keep your money in. You got to keep your money in. You don't get out now.
It'll recover.
Exactly. It always recovers. That's the crap they're telling everybody is, things go down, but you just got to stay in. It'll come back up.
It's a long-term strategy. Long-term strategy.
If you have the cash flow,
long-term strategy myself. My long-term strategy is to endure all the crap that they're throwing at us, all the poop fleeing from the fan, and utilize my food storage, my home storehouse, right, to weather these storms. The one thing you have to do is resupply. And I'm getting tired of resupplying at a very, very expensive resupply fee. But I mean, you guys know I greenhoused this year, learned a ton, didn't harvest as much as I wanted to. It was more an educational experience than anything else. But I've learned how to cool my greenhouse because it's way too hot where we are. I've also learned I need more light earlier in the day, so I need to relocate my greenhouse for next year, right? So I've learned tons of things, but then you also look at, okay, what are we learning with what's going on in the world? I mean, the banking, we've known for years the banking's corrupt. We've known for years that the markets are corrupt. We also had, in 2022, probably the most confirmations of theories of conspiracy fact.
Proven,
absolutely. Right? And I think the biggest of that, because this is aided in the financial, lies that we've all been seeing too, but like the Twitter files, those Twitter file dumps that are coming out, like I knew that they were, like, we all knew, we all expected, but I honestly, I'm gonna go on record, I'm shocked as to how much Twitter was doing, and doing it with the Democratic National, the DNC, with the FBI, with special interest groups. The FBI was actually flagging what news articles should be shut off so you can't see it, and which things were good and which things are bad, right? Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack, but like that's like that. I'm like, that okay.
It should shock you if it doesn't. That you're boiling in that pot, with the frog
and not paying attention. I mean, the reality is that the FBI has been weaponized this last year, especially with this administration. I mean, there might have been. I don't doubt that it wasn't weaponized before, but it was out in the open like it is. We've learned that it has been in this last year. I mean, who in the world would have thought that parents going to a PTA board meeting or a school board meeting would now be called domestic terrorists and they would be sought after? Who would have thought that journalists would have the FBI raid their house to steal their stuff, to find out where they learned, where do they get their sources from? I mean, this is just like, not only, and those are the good journalists that are the ones that are telling you the truth, not to mention the fact that we clearly, I mean, Project Mockingbird has become more obvious to the American people, I think, this last year than at any other point, which I'm excited about, because everybody's realizing, I don't remember what the numbers were, but I just remember that CNN's numbers went from something at least decent to dismal. Like nobody watches, statistically speaking, nobody watches CNN anymore. Nobody trusts these guys anymore. And too many people are not even trusting their doctors either. Like there's so many things that have happened in this last year where the trust of the American people has been completely lost because we figured some things out. Now, the goal is not to be lost in that. Don't get lost in that as a hopeless state. Recognize that, wait a minute, you got duped for a couple of years, maybe a couple of decades, but there's a way out of it. There's solutions for all this stuff. And, as you continue to listen to our podcast, hopefully we'll provide it or help provide some of those solutions for you. But
I think also what I think about that is if all this stuff is coming to light, what is going to happen next? You know, that's all this is about control. And if they're losing control, they're going to get desperate. And, you know, so looking forward into 23 kind of helps see what might be coming, you know, our predictions, which we'll talk about next hour. But I just think, you know, with these things coming out in 22, that 23 is going to even be more restrictive, even more harsh than 22 has been. But, you know, we'll talk about that next time.
it could be, well, just you were sharing some statistics earlier, Shane.
Yeah.
I looked up a statistic right now, and this is something that's really shocking.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that how many food processing plants have been put on fire this last year?
It was over 100.
Well, the average, here's what I found. I don't know if this is true, but this is an article that I brought up right now, and I'm kind of just brought it up in the moment here. But it says on average, there have been 24 food processing plant fires per year from 2012 to 2019. Mm-hmm. So 24 per year. So that's to have a food processing fire. Yeah, you know, it's more common than I'd thought before. Okay, that's normal. Okay. However, in 2022 in the United States, there are about 2,500 food processing plants. In 2022, there were more than 1,200 fires in these facilities.
Wow!
So we went from 24 on average to 1,200 in 2022. That doesn't shoot red flags and a bubble from the boiling coming from the bottom of the pot. Yeah. I don't know what does, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me go back to the markets real quick. Two numbers I wanted to spit out. And we saw all these negatives in the bond market and SP that I rattled off. Guess where gold and silver ended at the year at?
I think they ended
probably dead even with where it started.
Gold, it was flat. Silver's up 2.5%. So
I love it.
Instead of having your currency in the market, stick your currency into money. Right, into real money. That's the lesson. That's what I learned. If we're talking about things learned in 22, you know, that's something I knew anyway. But this year has proved even more so. This actually has been the worst year in the market since, guess what year? This is the third worst year in the markets since
1930s.
1930s. 1930. What is it? 1931 and 37. This is the third worst year. So if that's not a like you say, person, another big red flag, big flashing red light, then I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's if you got money in the markets, I know you do, Paris. You know how I feel about that.
Right.
You know, I'm very narrow-minded when it comes to where I put my currency.
Of money in the markets. I just don't know how to get it because it's not mine yet. Someday.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you know, there's some reality to dollar cost averaging. So if you're using a 401k, if you're doing something, don't feel hopeless. You know, there's some we've had bad years in history. So in the market, if you have a cash flow that allows you to have it, you know, continue to buy shares, continue to buy up units of ETFs or mutual funds, and you'll dollar cost average into a much better situation if you continue to have that dollar cost averaging strategy going for you. However, I do highly recommend that if you have money in a 401k or sitting right now, you might talk to your HR department. And again, this is something that you'll have to determine on your own with your own financial goals, but you might consider moving it into something a little more conservative for the next year, or more balanced, like especially those younger people that have like really their money into really growth oriented funds and whatnot. You might talk to HR about just allocating it for the next year or two into something a little more balanced, so that you're not going to take the deep losses if there still continue to be. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
When the housing market is ripe for the pickings. Yeah. We knew in 2021 that Zillow was finally starting to sell their ill-fated flipping portfolio. None of that sold until 2022. So that all happened in the beginning part of 2022. Back in February, and which Zillow was an $880 million loss for Zillow. So that gives good credence to people. Don't trust the Zestimate. That Zillow's estimate if they can't get it right, they're not giving it to you right.
I can't tell you how many people I talk to. Oh, well, Zillow says this. Like, get off of Zillow, get off of these other websites. Get to utahrealestate.com. Get to the actual realtor sites if you want actual information, good information.
Well, Zillow's great information. And here's what it's great information for. For all the guys that are marketing to you on Zillow, it's not great information for you, the consumer. Like that, the problem with what we have, what's going on in the 2022 has really exposed a lot of this. The more sites you're using, the more tools you're using, the more of everything that's out there, it's not to help you. It's to help the big business make more money off of people like you. Right? That's why we need to get back to doing mom and pop business, working with locals. You know, this is a plug. Going back to the eggs statement. You paid how much for a dozen eggs? $7.
Oh, a friend of mine said they paid $8 for 18 eggs.
Okay.
Seven something.
Yeah, over at Costco, I think it's like $4.99 for 18 eggs right now.
Oh,
and that was just a couple days ago. But here's the thing. There's an app. You guys can go download it called Farmish.
We talked about this before, yeah.
I'm going to plug this all the time. She's a stay-at-home mom that developed this because she saw that there's a need. And you can get eggs, you can get fruits and vegetables, like whatever's local in your market, and you can go barter and trade for it. And it's going to be, if it's eggs, it's going to be, they're the fresh eggs. They're not pasteurized. They're truly fresh eggs. They're going to be healthier. There's going to be more calorie density. It's just a smarter way to go. And so look at those things, people, like pay attention because there are better options around you. We should probably have her on sometime. Her name's Tara. She's fantastic. But that right there could save your family $8 to $10 a week, depending on how many eggs you're going through.
Yeah.
You know, go find a local supplier that's near you, that you like the quality of their eggs, you like the quality of their communication and their friendship, and just keep going with it. You know, I'm really excited. I still think we need to get every household to 3 chickens. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago. That there's something in that. Like, landfills are out of control. We're seeing that there's bigger problems because there's I mean, the United States is probably the most responsible with waste management. But there are still countries that are dumping their garbage in the ocean. You know, California has islands off the coast that are garbage islands. Were you guys aware of that?
Well, some of that came from Fukushima, right?
Wow.
But that's a big part of it.
Garbage islands.
Yeah.
You know, Long Beach has some that have been out there for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, look at that cute little floating island of garbage.
Yeah, and you know, turning back, I guess, to real estate real quick. You know, I started back in real estate in the 90s, like 93, 94. So I've been able to see a really long, multiple cycles of ups and downs in real estate, and so I see when I was starting in real estate where the housing prices were at the time, and that there were actual starter homes. You could actually get a starter home, something that was actually affordable. It does not exist anymore. It just doesn't exist. And even rental prices are out of control still. And so that's, for me, that's a really big one that this year really made a statement to me, is that nothing is affordable. And obviously all this money printing, this currency printing has caused the prices of real estate to just be insane. It's unreal. They're completely fake. It's completely propped up, and it's got to come back down. It's got to correct. It's going to correct one of these days.
Here's some information that I found out about that came out this year. Did you know that in all the development, especially here in Utah, all the new apartment complexes, do you know what their occupancy ratios are?
I had no idea.
50, 60%? Or is it?
They're only shooting for 50%.
Really?
The strategy has been, and this is a national strategy, I just found out about this.
Was that TikTok you sent me, Scott?
What's that?
You sent me a TikTok about that, didn't you?
I did, and
that was awesome.
I checked that out, and it's worse in Utah than it is in most places. What happens is the developers will come in, they'll buy the land, they'll turn it into nice not even high end, mid to high end apartments. They'll double the rents and only sell out half the units because it's a lot easier to manage 50% of the units than it is to manage 100% of the units. And why not manage 50% of the units for double the price? Right? You're eliminating bad renters. Well, then where do the bad renters live? They're stuck in these rundown places.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone else that's looking to rent is now being price gouged. Like, if I want to go find a place to rent for my family right now, we're either looking at 1,100 square feet for $1,800 or, 2,500 square feet for $3,300 and everything in between.
Wow.
It's impossible to find something that's affordable that's less than my current mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They just don't exist. There's not anything out there that's going to work. So what we're finding is as I look more into this and I look at all the different developers, they're ecstatic to just go buy and buy and buy, and then they turn around and sell it to these other bigger companies,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and let them be the ones to take the hit later.
So much greed.
That's what I was going to say. It's just straight greed. It's plain greed.
And if you look at the new homes being built, like all the small starter homes are only townhomes and condos.
Mm-hmm. And even there, it's unaffordable.
They're 2 to 3 stories on top of a garage.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk in and you got your garage and your entrance. You got to go up a flight of stairs to get to your main floor, and then 2 more flights to get to the other use of the house and bedrooms. It's just not useful space, but they're packed in like decks of cards on side. Like they're just, and they're selling for about $450 starting price. And that's not affordable.
Yeah.
That's going to put you to $3,000, $4,000 a month mortgage. Cause then you got to tack in your HOAs, your additional fees for the location, amenities. Like they're nailing everybody with all these additional costs because cities don't want to take up the costs. So they're privatizing roads. And you've seen in Utah, they distinguish between green signs and blue signs. Blue signs, street signs, it's a private road.
Mm-hmm.
Green, it's city road.
City or county.
City or county. Thank you. And what's funny is as a delivery driver, I'm out there interfering with these things all the time. Every time it snows, guess which roads don't get plowed?
Mm-hmm.
The blue. Why? Because their HOAs supposedly collecting money to do that, and they're not.
Or they have a very limited budget because they didn't plan for it last year. They didn't plan for it the year before because we didn't have a whole lot of snow that had to be plowed.
Yeah, they're like, we only pay for 5 plow days a year, so let's pay for that and then, gamble. Mm-hmm. And then we get all the snow days in
1 week.
In 1 week, and now it's like, now what do we do this week? Oh, well, you can pay for more plowing. We don't have any more money.
Yeah, the state's budget's going to be busted this year on plowing. I guarantee you that.
Oh yeah. Well, the roads alone just destroyed by the bad plow blades. The blades have been neglected, so they're not getting updated and repeated. Like just watching what's going on is just it's going to be a phenomenally destructive financial year in 2023.
I agree. Yeah, and I've got some predictions as well. We're going to talk about the next hour. But I also wanted to mention, this kind of goes along with real estate, is the vehicle market, new and used vehicle markets. Kind of the same thing happened. It blew up. The values, I'm using air quotes, values, kind of same thing with real estate, went through the roof. It was true insanity. And I still don't understand it. I'm the oldest one here. I don't know if that accounts for much, but other than being able to look back a little bit further and see, my first car, I paid $750 for. Drove that thing for like 3 or 4 years. Is that even possible? Can you find anything that's decent for $1,000? It's insanity. And then
you'd have to rebuild it.
Exactly. And then, with I had some used cars in the family that sold for more than what they were purchased for 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
That's just is not realistic. It's not sustainable. Take advantage of it, obviously, if you can, but that's collapse. That's not happening anymore. That is over. And the market, the vehicle market is on the edge of collapse.
Actually,
right now.
there are certain vehicles where the prices are still going up.
Some certain sports cars, certain maybe some full size trucks and such.
Here are the ones that are still going up, and it bothers me. Toyota 4Runners, Gen 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And
okay.
4.
The other ones.
They're going up still. Everything else is coming down. Those ones are going up.
Where are you looking at, Scott?
I'm looking at KSL. I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace. Everywhere I'm looking, they're still going up. I'll see one randomly from Wyoming go in, and I'll be like, "Oh wow, I can afford that one," and it's sold like within 6 hours. And then you find it online again for another $3,000 more from some guy in West Valley City, and I'm like, "You son of a!"
Oh wow.
There's those, and then FJ Cruisers, of course.
Well, of course, FJs are.
But
yeah,
even
I'm waiting for
new
those to come
FJ,
down.
right?
I want an FJ. I want an 83 FJ or 82, something like that.
But it's like I'm watching the new and I'm like, oh crap, everything's supposed to come down. So I look over at Hondas. I'm like, okay, I can get a Honda for $5,000. But watching everything that's happened this year, it's like I've taken a real look at what inflation's done, right? Because you'll hear a lot of times like, oh, you kids have had it so good. We used to hike uphill, snowed up to our ankles,
both ways.
Our neck, both ways to school, and whatever, blah blah blah. Well, look at inflation. How much was it? How much did it cost to buy a house in 2022?
Well, the average was 500 something, 5 something.
Okay. How much did it cost to buy a house in 1950?
It was like
30 or 40,
6,000, something like 6,000.
Yeah, depending on where you were, Utah, Idaho, you're about 6,000 to 10,000 for a house back in the 1950s.
Wow.
And they actually had lived a better lifestyle than us. Back in that day, the man of the house could work. This is the way it worked. He could earn a good enough salary, working a job, not being a college graduate, still buy a house, and mom still stay home with the kids.
Yep.
In the 50s and 60s. Well,
what we have today is clearly by design. There's and it's all about the money. You get a more consumer, you get a second income in the house. Now you can tax it. You get a second income in the house. Now you can consumer marketing just nail those people. Oh, you got extra money? Here, go buy and spend. Before you know it, you don't have any extra money because now you have all these things you never knew you needed until the marketing company told you needed them. And you're like, oh yeah, I must need that because that's what they said on the TV. No, you don't need it. And I think hopefully that's something that other people as well, people are waking up to, is that just the manipulation that's been going on.
So if it were only inflation, the difference between 1950 and 2022, a $10,000 home, if only inflation were like correct, it'd be $123,000 for that home. Instead, we're 550 or higher.
Yeah.
That is 5,000% higher cost of living.
No wonder our entire economy is in the balance with real estate. Real estate is the biggest part of our economy.
Yeah.
And when it goes down, it's gonna crash even harder. But also think about credit card debt. I believe I heard a statistic that it's the highest it's ever been. Individual personal credit card debt it's never been higher. And the savings rate, that's still questionable for me. I don't agree with their savings, how they calculate that, but their saving rate is the lowest it's ever been as well. Additionally, the trade deficit hit the highest level it's ever hit, which is like $100 billion in a month. Trade deficit. It's never been that high before. It was climbing up in the 90s and upper 80s for the several months prior to that, but I think it was November, maybe December, that hit $100 billion record trade deficit. So everything is falling apart. Yet nobody's talking about it unless you're listening to alternative media. Everything is fine and dandy unless you stick your head take your head out of the ground and really see what's going on.
And then was kind of frustrating towards the end of the last year. We had the primaries, and we had there were so many people coming out saying, we're going to get in there. We're going to win. We're going to take back the House. We're going to take back the Senate. We're going to do all this great stuff in Congress, and we're going to be able to, turn the tide. And, the beginning of the year that they, when the mandatory stuff came out for the medical issue that we've had, we can't say this particulars because of YouTube algorithms, but with all this mandatory, I remember sitting at, I think it was October-ish 2021. I remember sitting and listening to a congressman say, listen, everybody, hold on. You only have 1 year till we're going to be able to have the primaries. We're going to flip everything, and we're going to restore you military guys. We're going to restore you, all the corporations that are doing these things and canceling you. We're going to restore everything, and just give us a year to be able to do it. And I was like, okay, good. There's somebody out there at least saying it. That was one thing that gave me some hope. And then we got the primaries, and it was like, what? Wait, what?
It was totally that womp 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 womp.
Exactly. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to something else we can't talk about on YouTube, and which is why we don't talk about it as much, is the how someone gets to become a particular position in our government, the process, the V word that people have, that being,
you can't even say that word. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
horrifically manipulated, and we can see that with what's going on in Arizona. Oh my gosh! And I love Dinesh D'Souza, who came out with the 22,000 mules, and then Mike. I know that Mike Lindell had a little bit of a strange, history with that, but he's done some great, research. It's just like, why, guys? What, with all this evidence that we have, what's the deal? And it's just the fact that these guys have got so much control over what's going on that they have their friends in their iniquity, as it says in the scriptures.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall it was just, in everything, it was just a big down year. I don't know how else to say it. The whole year was just down. I can't think of anything that improved, other than my own personal status and my own.
Prepper Talk Radio improved.
There we go. Yeah,
Prepper Talk Radio is back. More people are waking up to what's going on. Who knew that the My Pillow guy who's trying to put people to sleep is waking people up? Right? Who like, this is the year in review of 2022 is actually quite astounding in the works of God. He is causing a movement, a stirring in the hearts and souls of men and women all over the world. We're waking up to what's going on, and we're saying, "Oh wow, this is not what we bargained for. This is not what we agreed to." And now there's accountability measures being taken, like the Brown versus Alma. Is that the right name for it? The Supreme Court that's about to happen on the 6th. January
6th. Isn't the Benson brothers doing it?
Benson brothers, yeah. I don't know why it's bound, but versus Alma et al. But it's about to go down. Like they're trying to fix things, right? We're seeing things move. People are putting their feet down, And the most important thing, honestly, is anyone that's listened to our show, listen to the news going on in the world, the things that are happening around us, watching what's going on, waking up and wondering, "Oh no, what do I do?" Pray. Just pray. Get close to God. Let him guide you in your daily. Let him guide you in the right things to do. Years and years ago, I'll share an experience. I was prompted to pull everything out of retirement. I was then told to use that to create PrepperCon, so we did. And I got that back, thankfully. But then we were told to use it in other ways, and we bought preps for people who needed it. We basically gave most of everything we had in retirement away to help other people. And since that time, we've been through everything under the moon and sun, everything you guys have all seen too. Like, we've been through it, and we've been fine. And I haven't had to panic. There's been other reasons to panic. Having kids there's lots of reasons to panic. I can't find my kid. It's too quiet. Oh no, right? Why is there poop on the couch? Those are lots of things to panic. Poop's been the topic for me today. I don't know why.
Yeah, dude.
But
that's awesome.
It's been awesome. But at the end of the day, like, we're here to help you not freak out in fear. We're not going to fearmonger you. We want to open your eyes. We want to teach you what we've found, what we've seen, tell you what we know that works, and really get you back on the path with God to be ready-minded, right? Ready-hearted. Because when our heart and our mind align with God, we're in a good place. No matter the storms that rage around us, the things that come against us, they shall not prosper.
Mm-hmm. That's legit. Thanks, Scott. One thing that really kind of helped me see this, what you just shared, Scott, about the people waking up, is all of the different countries around the world rallying the patriots, the people who are liberty oriented, the ones who love the truth and love liberty, gathering together into, and sometimes not so peaceful, but more peaceful of a riot than what we saw happen in America and the Midwest during the Floyd Mayweather issues. But people around the world locked in arms, fighting against the tyranny. I don't know if you guys, those of you who are listening right now, if anybody from Brazil is listening today, let us know what the world is going on down there. But because right now, Brazil just had a huge election. Their president swept over, and millions of people took to the streets. Some of the pictures I've seen are like ridiculous. It wasn't like I was just like, wow, I didn't even realize that many people could fit in that space. But millions of people took to the streets in protest. And that's the kind of thing that around the world, like you were saying, Scott, around the world, people are waking up to the nonsense of the tyranny and the way that the New World Order, the way that the globalists, the World Economic Forum, whoever it is, the way that they're headed towards destroying our countries and liberty and freedom and the ability to have agency, to be able to have self-reliance. The governments want us to rely on them. Why not? Because if we rely on them, they have all the control. And so I think along with, in a general way, Scott, exactly what you were saying, pray, get good with God, become self-reliant in your walk with the scriptures, in your walk with God, with your family. Become self-reliant financially, become self-reliant with your food storage, your water storage, your preps, your gear, and then become self-reliant with your skill sets, your knowledge and your habits, the things that you can learn how to do some of the things that have been lost to the ages so far. And I think that's going to help in a huge way towards the solution as we move into 2023, regardless of, or 2024 or 2025. Like, just get to the point where you're self-reliant. Like, you can rely on yourself and for most everything, and then find other people that you can be that are also self-reliant, and then synergistically work together to create something where everybody can do better than what we could do individually.
Well said. I'll say amen to that.
Shane, did you have any other things that you wanted to?
Well, I think that's a good place to end. I just have some other downer things I could comment on, and I think we ended on a good note. So let's end that there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening for the last 45 minutes. Remember to go to our website at preppertalkradio.com and go to the resource tab, put in your email there so that you can stay in touch with us and we can stay in touch with you. Also, please make sure to go to our Facebook page, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. If you actually go to our Facebook page, which is Prepper Talk Radio on Facebook, you'll go to see where it says more. You can scroll down where it says groups, and then you'll see the group there, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance, and join our group there. Jump in on the conversation. We have some plans as amongst the three of us to kind of moderate in there a little bit more regularly, provide resources and whatnot. What are some of our goals are to create a little more content. So stay tuned for stuff that's coming out the main podcast is going to stay the same. We're going to keep doing what we're doing twice a week at least, but we're going to start throwing out some other alternative things to keep you guys informed and get you guys some ready. Also, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube page so that we can get our 1,000 subscribers, so that we can get this Jase case contest kicked off, and the 5-ounce silver bar. We want to give those away to some person, some fortunate, awesome, incredible listener, and preferably, somebody that, of course, I think we have to have it in the United States. So I know we got a lot of listeners outside of the United States. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of us. Stay ready-minded. And remember that be self-reliant when it comes to God, family, and country. And we'll see you on the next one.